Edwards,
Here.
Clyburn, Winter,
Present.
Morrison,
Present.
Walker Myers,
Here.
Hamilton,
Present.
Marshawn,
Here.
Rakeem,
Present.
Earl,
Here.
Marks, Wingate,
Present.
Here. I'm sorry, here.
Marks.
Here.
Okay, and I got Wingate Smith.
Here.
A quorum has been established. I would like to note for the record that order from Ward 3 has joined us. We will now have divine guidance from order from Ward 4.
Thank you, Madam President. Good evening, Madam Chair, City Town Clerk, Legislative Director, colleagues, City Administration, residents, and media. And I pray, dear Lord, thank you for your presence and guidance in my life. Thank you for giving me breath of life and health and protecting my soul. You are the omnipotent, almighty, and the God of wisdom. The Bible demonstrates you are the God of numbers. You care for all humanity. You made us in your image. Like you, we breathe and we love. We hurt and cry and have joy and laugh. Like you, you have given us the ability to think and to make decisions. In regard to the finances of the city, you have made the alders and the mayor stewards of New Haven. Precious Lord, thank you for all we have in New Haven. New Haven is a city of great things and great people, and we care for each other. Help us to work together and do our best, and to give of ourselves, to lend the expertise, the talents and skills you have given to us, the gifts and assets you have made us stewards of, in order to make the best decisions in the best interests of our communities in these difficult times. Please, Lord, inspire those who have more to give more, and bless them more and more so that they will invest more in New Haven and what New Haven needs, and have mercy on them should they not do so. In this time of the coronavirus pandemic, please protect our first responders and in our emergency services and all of us. Dear Lord, please bless all of my colleagues, the peoples of New Haven, our Mayor Justin Elicker, and our city staff, and all of our state officials. I am so thankful for everything, and I pray in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Madam President.
The Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam President, and good evening. I move approval of the Journal of the May 18, 2020 Board of Alders meeting.
Second.
The item has been moved in second. Are there any corrections to the journal? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? The item passed. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam President. Under second readings, I move item 1, finance favorable. A, appropriating ordinance number 1.
1 second, Mr. Majority Leader. I made a mistake. 1 second. We're going to back this up. Before we have discussions on the budget, I want to read the general rules. Any money amendments have to balance. So if you wish to increase the line, it need to be matched by a decrease in other lines or vice versa. Also, the budget is an ordinance, so 16 votes are required for it to pass. We can by a majority vote of the entire board increase and decrease individual lines of appropriation or decrease the bottom line or the tax rate. However, you can only by 2/3 vote increase the total bottom line or increase the mill rate that's recommended by the mayor. Now, Mr. Majority.
Thank you, Madam President. Well said. I move finance number 1. I move finance favorable. Item 1A, appropriating ordinance number 1, an ordinance making appropriations for operating departments of the city for the fiscal year July 1, 2020 through June 30, 2021.
Second.
The item has been moved in second. Discussion. I call on order from Ward 24.
Thank you, Madam President. Good evening, honorable colleagues, the public, and everyone else that has joined us this evening. Before I address the item before us, let me first recognize the people who contributed to the budget process over these past 3 months. The Finance Committee held 3 public hearings this spring, and I thank the many New Haven residents who took time from their busy lives to make their voices heard. The Finance Committee held several departmental workshops since the beginning of March, and we listened to city staff explain their budget proposals. I thank them for answering our questions, and I especially want to recognize Mr. Michael Gormany, our Director of Management and Budget, for his responsiveness and hard work in our queries. I thank my colleagues on the Finance Committee for their attendance and attention during this 3 months budget process. And they are Alder Adam Marchand, my Vice Chair, Alder Ernie Santiago, Alder Salvatore DeCola, Alder Jeanette Morrison, Alder Taisha Walker Myers, our President of the Board of Alders, Alder Anna Festa, Alder Richard Furlow, our Majority Leader, Alder Evelyn Rodriguez, one of our leaders, Alder Ron Hurt, and Alder Charles Decker. I also want to thank our fellow alders, not unfinanced, that attended all of our meetings. Most of our budget meetings took place after implementation of the public safety protocol in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Running meetings over Zoom was a challenging experience, and I thank everyone for their patience as we learn to conduct business virtually. Finally, I want to thank our legislative services staff. Permit me to call special attention to Mr. Don Hayden, our fiscal analyst, and Mr. Al Lucas, our Director of Legislative Services. Without their support, we could not have gotten through this process without their assistance. At this time, I will offer some general comments about the amended budget. In brief, this is a difficult budget, and it calls on everyone to do more. We thank the Ellikers administration for proposing a sober budget that grapples with the serious challenges our city finances, the serious challenges to our city's finances, which includes large structural commitment in pension obligations, employee benefits and debt services, high overtime cost in our police and fire departments, and a grand list with a large and growing proportion of exempt properties. Our amendments both cushion the impact on taxpayers by moderating the proposed mill rate increase and creating a reserve fund to address budget gaps stemming from the effects of the pandemic. Our amendments reduces expenditures, including increasing the Board of Education funding by $1 million, $2.5 million less than in the proposed budget. requiring an additional 2.73% reduction in expenses from non-Board of Education operational departments. Cutting in half the proposed increase in the central utilities budget from about $660,000 to $330,000, and bringing to $1 the funding for 4 proposed positions in the fire department. Our budget amendment also increased revenues by raising building permit fees for large commercial developments, resulting in an estimated $400,000 increase in income, and putting $2.5 million into the reserve initiative line. While we would certainly welcome revenues from various sources to fulfill this revenue initiative line, we wish to make it clear we call on Yale University and Yale New Haven Health to step up. Our board has strived to protect core services to advance the key policy priorities, which are jobs, youth services, affordable housing, and community policing. It's obvious, however, that our budget is not on a sustainable path. Without a shift, the growing burden will continue to fall on residents through reduced services, increased taxes, or both. The additional $2.5 million in this amendment is vital to this next fiscal year. But let me be clear, more needs to be done. But the need is so much more. It's time for a new deal from Yale University, Yale New Haven Hospital. And now, I will proceed with a detailed description of the items before us. Appropriating Ordinance Number 1 contains the city's operating budget, from debt service to medical benefits to computer repair. This ordinance funds the city's department and enables them to provide services to our residents. The Finance Committee recommends 2 types of changes. The first is a set of corrections to various errors in the mayor's proposed budget. These technical changes have no net effect on the budget, and they are: A, Police Department added $43,085 to an administrative assistant position that was mistakenly removed from the budget. B, Engineering Department. Number 1, restored an assistant engineer position from $1 to $116,079. Number 2, reduced chief civil engineer position from $112,199 to $1. C, the mayor's office. 3 position titles have been changed, and they are: number 1, from deputy chief of staff to liaison to the Board of Alders. Number 2, from legislative assistant policy analyst to policy analyst. Number 3, from special assistant to the mayor to director of federal/state legislative affairs. Number D, Police Department added $230,000 to the vehicle maintenance account. E, Debt Service added $326,965 in savings on the debt refinancing. F, Community Services Administration, $50,000 to Dixwell Q House programming line. The second set of changes are amendments passed by the Finance Committee to reflect key goals and priorities. These changes are: number 1, expenditure increase increases that adds up to $455,580. Number A, New Haven Free Public Library. Number one, added $100,000 to fund 2 positions in the Stetson Library. Number two, restored $40,000 in cuts to the library acquisition budget. B, City Town Clerk added $65,580 to fund a restored position. C, Finance Department added $150,000 for a parade expense fund. Number D, self-insurance added $100,000 for a tree settlement fund. Expenditures reductions in the amount of $7,155,580. A, various organizations reduced by $100,000 the NPIP funding. B, Board of Education reduced non-personnel by $2,500,000. C, non-Board of Education operational reduced by $3,854,304. D, Fire Services cut $371,204 from department budget by reducing 4 positions, 3 captains and 1 lieutenant, to $1. Item E, utilities reduced $330,072. The combination of the expenditures increased and decreased above is a net savings of $6,700,000. The Finance Committee voted to dedicate $4,800,000 of these proceeds to a reserve fund. The remainder of these savings, the committee dedicated to applying towards reducing the increase in the proposed mill rate. I thank my colleagues and everyone here this evening for their patience in listening to this very long list. With that being said, I ask my colleagues to approve appropriating ordinance number 1 as amended by the Finance Committee to fund the general operations of the City of New Haven for fiscal year beginning July 1, 2020. Thank you, Madam President.
I will now call on order from Ward 25.
Thank you, Madam President. I move an additional technical amendment to this item in order to correct an error brought to our attention quite recently by the Director of Management and Budget. Second.
The item has been moved and second. Discussion on the amendment only. I call on order from Ward 25.
Thank you, Madam President. The correct fire attrition number should now be $1,431,138 as a result of the 4 fire services positions that the committee voted to reduce to $1. Errors such as these happen routinely in the process of considering a budget of over $500 million and with hundreds and hundreds of lines. It is important and fitting to make these technical changes at this time. I ask colleagues to support this technical amendment. Thank you, Madam President.
Any further discussion on the amendment only? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
Any abstentions? The amendment passed. We're now back to the item as amended. Any further discussion on the item as amended?
Madam President.
Alderman
I
Marchand.
call- 1 second, give me 1 second. I call on order from Ward 25.
Thank you, Madam President. I move an amendment that makes additional changes to the budget voted out of the Finance Committee. This amendment is recommended by the Chair and Vice Chair of Finance and by the leadership of the board.
Second.
The item has been moved in second. Discussion on the amendment only. I call on order from Ward 25.
Thank you, Madam President. This amendment makes the following changes. Add a new line, Climate Energy Task Force, for $50,000. This will be funded by additional permit fees of $50,000. Eliminate the proposed new parade fund, $100,000, and the proposed new tree fund, $150,000, and the 4 fire captain slots, 3 fire captain slots, and 1 lieutenant position, each funded for $1. That's $4 altogether, for a combined reduction of $250,004. In addition, reduce reserve fund by $800,000 and tax reduction by $800,000 for a combined reduction of $1.6 million. Move the total combined cost reduction of $1,850,004 and adjust the savings from non-Board of Education operational units from $3,854,304 or 2.73% down to $2,004,300 or 1.42%. These changes result in a budget that lessens the impact on resident services while still advancing the goals mentioned earlier, mitigating the proposed tax increase and producing a reserve fund to address future budget impacts. Even with these changes, the budget remains painful, with sacrifices to be made by all stakeholders. I note for the record that with these changes, the general fund budget for fiscal year 2020-2021 would be reduced from the mayor's proposal. The new bottom line would be $567,990,073. I urge colleagues to support this amendment. Thank you, Madam President.
Further discussion on the amendment only.
Alder Winter raised his hand.
We'll just give just a moment. The president is frozen once again.
Okay, I'm back on this one. Where do we leave off?
Further discussion, and Alder Winter had raised his hand.
Okay, I call on order from Ward 21.
Thank you, Madam President. This amendment rightly calls on all stakeholders, our city staff, our residents, and our largest nonprofits to address the city's fiscal crisis. It also seeks to address many of the challenges our city faces. During the budget process, dozens of city residents reminded us that while the city confronts a sudden public health crisis brought on by an invisible killer, one that disproportionately affects our Black and brown neighbors, a similar crisis looms slowly, imperceptibly, and lethally in the form of climate change. This budget makes meaningful commitments to climate change adaptation and mitigation through designated capital funding and a general fund commitment to supporting the Climate Emergency Task Force. In a challenging budget year, we must keep in mind that targeted investments in energy efficiency is sound fiscal policy, that in saving our planet, we can also save our city money on the more than $7 million it spends on energy costs each year. Thank you, Madam President.
Any further discussion on the amendment only? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any
Aye.
opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The amendment passed. We're back to the item as amended. Any further discussion? Can't see. Okay. Let's see. Mr. Majority Leader, do you see any hands? I'm gonna need assistance.
We'll do from Ward 22.
Okay, I see it. I will now call on Alder from Ward 3.
Thank you, Madam President. I stand in support of this amendment, of the amendments. I serve on the Finance Committee, and our committee did a lot of work on this budget that I'm proud of. With this budget, the city can continue to do meaningful work on affordable housing, which is one of the main reasons I serve as an alder. And we're able to create a reserve fund, which will help us deal with huge uncertainty